This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Welcome to Construction Genius, and it is my pleasure to welcome Dom Rubino to the podcast. Dom, thanks for coming on with me.
Yeah, Eric, nice to be with you here. Thanks.
Hey, I know we were chatting offline just a minute ago, and you have a company, Profit Tool Belt, and one of the things you focus on is helping construction companies find and then get ready to sell their businesses.
Right.
What do you think is the biggest challenge that construction companies have when it comes to going through that whole process?
Every company is different, but the things that I see that are most consistent in the challenge is first, they wait too long. Or they think I'm never going to need to sell it. Things are fine. And unfortunately, there's, the reasons to sell your business, there's good reasons, there's bad reasons, and there's neutral reasons.
Okay.
The good are good, and the bad, unfortunately, are the bad ones you would think about. We shouldn't get into it. And then the neutral ones are, hey, I'm ready to sell, and I want to be proactive about it. And those are the guys or the owners that actually usually get the best returns.
So you were telling me offline here that you were working with one company that had a successful transition. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, they're actually in the middle of the successful transition. They're in the construction trades for sure. The dad started it out of the garage.
Right on.
They're about 60 million right now, and these guys are amazing. They just swallowed a $20 million company really without a hiccup. I mean, I think the big hiccup is there was a miscommunication about the age of the roof on the new building they bought, and now there's a leak. Other than that, everything's been smooth sailing. And but the reason that went so well is simply the word systems. They're very systems focused.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about that. What specific systems gave them the most leverage?
Well, we've been working together for a couple of years now. So, the things that I've helped them put in place was actually putting more systems in place. But one of them is they have very good communication internally. It's a dad and 3 sons and a lead foreman. Foreman is one of the best foremen I've ever met, ever in any industry. Cool hand Luke. His name's not Luke, but he's unflappable and very smart. But certainly not, showy. He's a wise man. So he's a real strong asset. And then the sons all have different strengths, and they're all very strong, but different strengths. And the dad's put together a great team, and he's just making the most of it.
So let me ask you real quick about the sons, because I think this is one thing that when I'm working with my clients in their succession, when I think of a construction business, you have the get work portion of the business.
Yeah.
You have the build the work portion of the business.
There's 2 sons right there.
Good. And then you've got the get paid portion.
No, that's an accountant person.
Okay. But 2 of the sons are get work and build work.
Yeah. Get work. It's the estimating son. Let's call it. He runs the estimating department.
Yep.
The build for the field operations. That's operations. And then the other son in this case happens to be a software genius. He's really smart. He doesn't come across as a genius. He's just a head down kind of guy, but he's solid. Yeah. Yep. He's also not flappable. Like he takes the time to program what needs to be programmed or fix what needs to be fixed. He's got a good understanding of accounting and how that works with the job costing systems and the time templates and the reports. Very solid.
That's excellent. Yeah. So I think that's one of the fundamental things that I see people make an error in is that, someone wants to sell their business, particularly internally to some folks, but they don't cover those 3 bases of get work, build work, and then get paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have people in place for those that you trust or systems that you trust.
Yep.
And then, check back systems. And I don't want to make it also seem like unless you've got 3 siblings that are strong in each of those areas, unless you have that, you're doomed for failure. You're not. And I know that's not what you're saying as well. You just have to put the systems in place so that operations is solid, estimating is solid, getting paid is solid, just running the business. The business runs on systems, not on randomness.
That's excellent. So why do you think people struggle to successfully sell or transition their business?
Usually they don't give themselves enough time.
Yeah.
I mean, you like anything, you can sell anything if you've got enough time,
Right.
right? But if you give yourself enough time, if you give yourself enough time, then you have the best chance of getting the person that we call the strategic buyer.
Okay.
Because I don't know your listener's business,
Right.
but I can do this magic thing. I know exactly how much their company is going to sell for.
Okay.
It's going to sell for fair market value. and I'm only half joking. If they put the right systems in place, they can sell above fair market value.
Right.
If they're just a random hodgepodge of things that don't work and they try to sell that company, they're either going to close it or they're going to sell it for below fair market value.
So how can people use systems to enhance the value of their construction company?
Predictability.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you know what it's like, once you've got a system, you can predict what's going to happen. We see the same thing when we watch sports. It doesn't matter what sports you like. If you like hockey, football, soccer, baseball, you can see a play develop.
Right.
You can almost see it, right? And the announcer's announcing and he's getting all excited and then a goal happens or a point is scored. Well, of course, you saw the play develop back in the defensive zone.
Yeah.
And then when they're in the offense, you saw the play happen and boom, it worked. That's a system, right? That's why they've got the clipboard with the whiteboard marker and the whole basketball court on it, whatever it is. That play developed way back before they got to the net.
So when you say time is one of the key issues, how much time does somebody need to invest in order to get their business ready to sell?
That is almost an impossible question. I can tell you though, if you want to sell your business fast, it's the same as if you want to sell your car fast. You can sell it fast if you sell it cheap. And that's where a lot of people get in trouble. And you know, the unfortunate part of our business is sometimes I get phone calls from people who say, this has happened to me. You know, my wife is sick. I need to be by her side. I just want to sell this thing.
Right.
And that's a life change. They make a decision and they're just going to get rid of it to be by their wife's side. In this case, he went to do that. So he took below fair market value, but what he bought in the background was the time to be with his wife. Nobody knows that's going to happen, right? But if you start planning, even listening to this episode, you just think, okay, well, what systems we need to put in place? You know, you need systems for revenue, for sales, for the things you already asked, right? Operations, collections.
Well, let me ask you this then. So let's say I want to sell my business. And if I'm honest, my systems aren't as strong as they could be. Where do I start?
Get a piece of paper and write down your biggest headache in your company.
Mm-hmm.
Go fix that.
Okay.
Put a system in place for that. So is your biggest headache hiring people? Is it around quality control? You know, if you're having inconsistent product or service, whatever you do.
Yep.
If that's it, write that down on a piece of paper and then go make systems to, you know, fix. I say fix, but I mean enhance. Like, you're obviously doing a great job if you're listening to a podcast like this, thinking about getting better.
Yep.
Just go fix that thing. And then when you're done that, write down the next thing that's bugging you. And
there you go.
Fix that.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, and that's
you don't have to overcomplicate this.
See, that's excellent, because it's so easy to think about all the things, particularly, you know, as business owners, we look at our businesses and say, that could get better, that could get better. And all of a sudden we get overwhelmed and don't do one thing. And so to start with that one most important thing, that's excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
In your experience, do you find any reoccurring issues that are consistent across the board when you're working with construction companies, or does it vary from company to company?
It kind of varies. So it does vary by company to company, because some companies there's just one owner, some there's two partners, some there's three partners and they're all family, and one's divorced and married the sister, and you know, but there's layers there. But one of the things that consistently hits construction companies is they can be very difficult to sell because they're heavy on assets and light on actual recurring revenue.
Yep.
So now, if I would love to have an HVAC company or a pest control company, even a roofing company, but I'd want to be a maintenance roofer. Because and people listening might go, Rubino, you know what you're talking about. That's a headache. Sure it is. It's a $250 headache per month, per location headache that I would love to have, because when I have 1,000 of those clients, somebody will buy that cash flow from me.
I tell you, dude, I work with a number of HVAC and mechanical contractors.
Yeah.
I was talking to one guy last night, and they've got the construction side, they've got the service side, they've got the control side, They've got so many, they have multiple streams of revenue, and many of them are not dependent upon the economy and upon building a new building.
Right, because everybody needs that fridge or heater working, and they're going to pay X dollars per month to have it working. And so the problem we have when we paint houses, and I've had my own painting company, right, is I have to change who my recurring revenue client is.
Yeah.
If I sell to homeowners, that's okay. If I specialize in residential repaint, great margins, by the way. But at some point, I have to pay the piper. I might need to change to doing more work for property managers, because the property manager relationship becomes the recurring revenue opportunity. But I need recurring revenue in order to build a company big and to have it sellable. Insurance companies do this all the time. Hey, Starbucks and Dunkin' does this to us. That's why they give us those darn cards, because we're going to come back and we're going to use it. And they turn an individual transaction into an ongoing cash flow stream.
So, and the thing that I find is, and many of the contractors that I know who are listening to the show, they're not in the HVAC or the mechanical or where they have that built-in service opportunity. And so they are in that position where, they basically, what gives worth to the company is the depth of relationships that they have with their clients and the reputation that they have. But other than that, there isn't much there to purchase.
Yeah. There is another, I'll call it a relief valve. I know we were just talking about mechanical contractors.
Yep.
But the other thing that I see, this is really wise business owners, is at some point they bought their building.
Yep.
Or they started investing in real estate. Because you can do great on a project. A general contractor on a house can make just under $100,000 on a house flip.
Sure.
In my market for sure, or more and more, as it goes, whatever your business is. What are you doing with that money? If you're taking the profits from your business and then putting them into a passive cash flow type of asset of some sort, that's smart. Because let's say all you bought was your building. That's all you bought, 2,000 square foot shop, just picking a number out of the air. When I come to buy that company, I can buy the company and you can keep the real estate. And now I'm your tenant. Yep. And you're going to keep having that cash flow, or your wife or your kids. Somebody else is going to get that cash flow. But the key here is, how do you get above fair market value? And it's by being smart, not by hoping for a dream. The dream person to come in and overpay.
So in your experience working with construction companies who are looking to sell, what is the ratio between people who do an internal sale and people who do an external sale?
Ooh. I wouldn't be able to comment on that, but it is a lot easier to sell to your management team.
Yeah.
And there's ESOPs and there's tools for that. Yep. But there's also just selling it to an existing manager or family.
Yeah.
The opportunity there is also the problem. When I'm selling to family, the benefit is they're going to take the business and tell me to get out of there, and they're going to pay me ongoing cash flow.
Right.
And because of the relationship, like you just talked about, they're going to keep making that payment. We know because they're coming to my house on Sunday for dinner.
Right.
They're going to keep paying.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want above fair market value, I want a strategic buyer who's going to come in. They might want me to stay in the business a little bit longer and pay me the premium. We call that golden handcuffs. You might have heard that before.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I want to sell my construction company. I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. I'm looking at 5 to 10 years. I look internally, and I don't necessarily see people who are going to take it from me, who want to buy it from me. I don't necessarily have family members.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to look externally. What are some steps that I need to immediately take, other than the ones that you've mentioned in terms of getting processes up and running? How can I start going about the process of identifying a buyer?
First you have to understand who your ideal buyer is. So you have to know who is your perfect buyer, because that perfect buyer wants you to look a certain way. They want clean. Let's assume that everybody wants above fair market value.
Right.
So you want to get paid more than your business is worth, and you want to get out pretty quickly. Well, a buyer that's going to buy you at that stage is going to be pretty smart. They're going to want clean systems. Yep. They're going to want clean books. Now, I'm all for taking cash out of the business and all those things we can all smile and nod about, but you can't. It has to show up in the books if you want to get paid for it in the future.
There you go.
So
That's
just make the decision. I don't care what you do, but make the decision. You're either getting the money now or later, right? Yep. So you got to have clean systems, clean books. You have to have consistent sales and be able to prove to me, the new buyer, that I'm buying an ongoing successful business, right? So you have to show me those sales, or In the case of mechanical contractors, pest control, fire safety, those guys have, it's almost like a SaaS attached to a building.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right? And then I already mentioned assets versus companies. So you got to get those things in place, then go find the buyer. And usually what happens, this I do know, is that once you start to have clean systems and clean books, you start to look different in the market. And now that guy, the next state over that wants to move west goes, hey, instead of starting up ourselves, why don't we just buy John's company?
Right.
And they buy you. They're a strategic buyer. That's their business.
Interesting. So what if, let's say I've waited too long, and either by circumstance or just the fact that, I'm kind of done, and I do want to sell the business, but I've waited too long. What can I do immediately to increase the likelihood of getting either at or above fair market value?
Yeah. Tough situation first. So I feel for anybody who's got that going on. And if you've waited too long, you still have to start.
Yeah.
If it was my buddy and he said, Dom, I got to talk to you, I've waited too long. The first thing I would do over a coffee or a beer is I'd say, let's make an operation. This is going to sound so boring, but it's what you do.
No, it's cool.
Let's flow chart the company. Tell me, how do we get clients? How do we get paid? All and everything in between. Tell me about your estimating process, your manufacturing process, your quality control. Tell me all the whole thing. And we're going to lay it out on a list, top of the page to the bottom. And then we'll talk about where the systems are broken and how much can we fix? Is it fixable? Is it worth it? And then we have to make sure the books are in order, et cetera. Once you've got all that, somebody might buy it. I don't know that they will or won't. But if you've built something you're proud of, there's probably somebody else out there who's dying to buy it from you.
That's excellent. Excellent. Well, Dom, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us some insights here. Can you let us know where we can get in touch with you if we'd like to?
Well, for sure. I mean, I have a podcast just like you do. Mine's called Profit Tool Belt.
Nice.
Spelled just like how it sounds.
Right on.
The only problem on that show is I do a lot of talking on that thing. So if you didn't like me here, you're not going to like me there. And there's a website of the same name.
Okay.
Profit Tool Belt. Now, for those of you, the people out there who are really good on the internet, they're going to find that I have another podcast as well. And that's for the architectural, millwork, and furniture industry. It's called Cabinet Maker Profit System.
Interesting.
But generally, people are finding me on Profit Tool Belt.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. And then, I've got I have a report on this subject. If somebody wants it, they can just email me and send it off.
That'd be beautiful. How can they get that report?
Send an email to my, this is a different email address, but DR, my name's Dominic Rubino, so DR at bizstratplan.com. So
okay, cool.
bizstratplan.com.
Sweet. We'll make sure we get that in the show notes.
Yeah, thank you. And then if you can't find me, you ain't trying. I mean, in this day of social media, I'm all over. I'm embarrassingly everywhere.
That's beautiful. So Dominic, as we wrap up here, if you were to give just one final 2 or 3 pieces of advice to someone so that they can start to execute that succession plan, what would that be?
Systems. Get your systems on paper. Do a flow chart. Pick the one thing that's bugging you the most and fix that.
There you go.
Those were really all the same answer, weren't they?
That's beautiful. No, it's good. It's good to drive home that point. And so I'd like to ask my guests one final question before we wrap up the interview here. Tell me, Dom, where are you from?
I'm in Vancouver right now.
You're in Vancouver. Okay, so you're in Canada. So if I was to visit Vancouver, what's the one restaurant that I should go to?
Oh, geez. Now there's so many here. Do you know what Vancouver has that people may not know about is we have sushi for miles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. So you literally any neighborhood sushi place here is outstanding.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So any Asian foods in Vancouver are fantastic. I thought you meant culturally. I'm one generation from Italy.
Oh, no. I meant where do you like to eat from where you live?
Yeah. So here we've got fantastic sushi. We've got Vietnamese pho or pho, people call it.
Yep.
And then all types of what you might just lump as Chinese food.
Yep.
And Indian food. We've got so many cultures in Vancouver, it's not even funny. So you can eat a different culture's food every night.
Okay, but if you're going out,
sushi.
Okay, so which sushi place are you going to?
Oh, we go to Hidozo in New Westminster.
Okay.
There's another place in Yaletown. I can't remember the name of it, but I know it when I drive by. It's right next to the keg. And there's just You can't go wrong here for sushi. You just cannot hit wrong.
So you'll have to email me the name of, I think you said Igozo or something like that?
Igozo.
Yeah, email me that name and I'll put that in the show notes just in case someone's ever in Vancouver.
Fantastic.
All right, Dom, I appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity, and to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.